Okay, Steve, we ready? Okay.
Can you hear me? All right. Whenever you're ready, Steve.
It's not letting me turn it on. Hold on a second. I got it. We're live streaming though on YouTube. You know what? This is probably because I had to go back. I don't know if I have to reset this or not. Hold on a minute. It's not letting me start the meeting. Let me try a couple things. Hold on, I'm sorry. When I had to go back, I think it logged me out. I'm going to try something. If I lose everybody, you may have to re-log in. Darn it. I can't get this to work. No, that didn't work either.
It says it's recording.
Yeah, it's not letting me activate the meeting, so I can't let anybody in who's an audience member because I had to go back. It's just letting you folks on here and that's it. And it's on YouTube right now, streaming with me talking about this, but it's not letting me activate it. Steve Corbel, are you still there?
I am here.
Can I try something and make you guest host and see if you can start the meeting? I'm going to make you a co-host. Can you see if you can start the meeting as co-host? I just did it now.
I just did it. I hit start webinar.
I'm sorry, what?
I said I hit start webinar and it says the webinar has started.
Okay, it's not recording though. And
I'll
it's
hit
not letting
record.
in, it's not letting in the other people. Oh, okay. All
Yes.
right, it just did. Good, thank you. Okay, we're good. Okay, all right, we can start with planning and zoning.
Okay, before we start, I wanted to state that at the council meeting on Wednesday, August the 18th, which is in person, there will be an executive session immediately following that concerning personnel and legal issues. Thank you.
Okay, Bill, I'm sorry I held you up. Planning and zoning, I have nothing to report, so you can move from me to Dawn.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Don, you're on.
Yeah, I just have a couple announcements to make here. The two pine trees that were planted in the borough right away up on Cascade Road have been removed, and the resident is very happy about the situation. So that's taken care of. Tomorrow at our tree and shrub meeting, the tree and shrub will make a recommendation about whether the tree should be removed or stay at 646 Cascade Road. I believe we're all aware of that situation. But 3 weeks ago, I made a phone call to a resident in the borough to see if she'd be interested in joining the tree and shrub committee, which we've had a vacancy for over a year. And she was very excited about it. And I'm happy to announce that Nina Sawinski is going to be our new member, providing that you folks do approve of everything.
Oh, definitely.
Not so sure about that.
I definitely approve that.
Who is she? Nina.
Hopefully
Nina.
tomorrow she's going to show up for the meeting.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So, everybody's still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, if you're guys are okay
Okay.
with it, then I'll have a vote
And
on the 18th for that.
All right.
everybody's still there?
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead, Dawn.
Hello?
Yes,
Go ahead,
Dawn,
Don. Go ahead.
you're fine, Dawn.
Hello?
We hear you.
The last thing that I have is that next Thursday on the 19th, I have 12 court hearings, which are going to consist of grass, garbage, and one is going to consist of a collapsed roof on a garage on a service road behind Avenue F. So that's going to be a busy morning. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Don.
Sure.
Any other planning and zoning issues anyone like to bring up?
One thing for Dawn. Dawn, if you could, I think I mentioned it before. I mentioned it last week to my dad too. Next time we have people in doing stump grinding, stump removals, can we make
Yes.
sure that the tree at the pool, it's a stump next to the Brendan Foley Memorial plaque, is on that list to get ground out?
It's on the list. It will
Okay.
be done.
Sounds
Yes.
good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
sure.
okay, thanks. Anything else? Okay, thanks, Don. We're done.
Okay, give me a few
Okay.
seconds. Give me a few seconds and I'll go to finance. Okay, I'm fine with the finance committee if we're okay to start with manager's update, Ms. DeMarco.
Thank you.
By the way, I joined like in the middle of planning and zoning, so I'm here now.
Hi, Marcus.
So,
So, Mr. Morris, do you want to give us your manager's update on finance?
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is pretty quick, I think. First, cash flow, because we had some people out, July financials haven't been closed out yet, so I don't have a cash flow at this time. I don't think there's any issues with cash, but I just want to let you know that as soon as I get one, I will email it to everybody. There shouldn't be any issues, though. Second item B on my list of things is budget preparation for 2022. We're beginning to plan that now, and I emailed to everybody an electronic version of the budget packet that I will give to staff tomorrow. If you want a hard copy, let me know. We'll have some here in the office. We can put it in your mailbox or whatever. But regardless, you're certainly able to contribute if you want in one of a couple of ways, by either submitting your own, excuse me, I'm sorry, submitting your own information or working with staff from your departments. You know, you can certainly submit if you'd like. Realize again, staff does everything except any personnel related stuff, but they will give you estimates. And if you have any suggestions about revenues, it certainly would be helpful to see that in advance. As usual, first draft of the budget will be the Finance Committee meeting in October. Second draft will be in November, but I want to remind you again, I will not be here for that meeting. So hopefully most of the budget will be done and ready by then. Because usually in November you approve a preliminary budget. So in any case, you should have gotten that with the email I sent, the budget forms. If you have any questions, let me know, but it's the same format as before. Everything looks the same, and should not be an issue. Just to refresh your memory, this is what the budget form typically looks like. So that's what you should be seeing as part of the handout that I emailed to you. That was just a sample form. Anybody have any questions about the 2022 budget?
I do want
20
to comment on two things. One, I would like in our September meeting to have a presentation about how we can use PA Act 129 to obtain energy engineering audits and energy service company services, which would have an effect on our budget in terms of savings. I also would like to request that we consolidate all of our utility bills into one place so that we can track consumption better from our borough buildings. We have an intern who's compiling that spreadsheet, and I would like to share that with you as soon as I get it from him. But I think that will help us not only meet our climate goals, but also to direct major capital expenditures on our buildings to upgrade their energy performance in a way that is the most cost efficient and has the most impact on what is accomplished. Marcus, you have a comment?
Sorry, I unmute myself. I heard that Duquesne doesn't allow to consolidate multiple sites into one thing.
That's correct.
So how can we do it if Duquesne doesn't allow us?
I'm just saying we put on one spreadsheet all of our 28 accounts
Okay.
so that we can see them easily. Right now they're spread out in a couple of different ways, just to help us track not just the dollars, which is in our budget book, but the units of consumption for each of the buildings, so that we get a better picture. I think if we can do a good engineering audit of our buildings, it will help us know, is it cost efficient to replace the windows right now? Should we really replace the boiler at this time? What would be the most cost efficient things to do in what order? So I will have a presentation in the September Finance Committee meeting to address that, if it's okay with all of you. I think it would help us. It would also let us know how to structure our costs for this implementation. Okay, anything else on that? Okay, Steve?
All right, item C, capital improvements plan, really just a reminder that, again, everyone has been working on that. What I'm going to do in September, I'm sorry. What I'm going to do in September is give you any new forms that anybody submitted to me. There's only been a couple. Everything else that's in there now then will stay, other than anything new. So there really isn't, I'm not going to resubmit old forms from last year. I'm just going to assume you'll look at the budget book with the capital items in there. There have been also discussion in recent meetings about adding a section for energy, solar, and energy audits. Maybe that's what Patty's going to talk about next month.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you want to add that, whether it's in the capital plan or the regular budget, but that's something that's up to you. Item D, usually I don't make a big deal about assessment changes because they've been pretty routine, but just so you know, this is the largest that we've had, this change that we were notified by the county a few days ago about the Forest Hills Veteran Housing, which I believe is the new building. It's gone down from 1.3 million to 402,000. Just so you know, that's not great, but overall, I gave you some notes here on what our current total taxable assessed value is, what I used to calculate the budget, what number I used to calculate the budget, which was actually less than that number. And I gave you some other information on how much we've lost in value since the 2012-13 reassessment. We expected to lose value with appeals, and there were a lot of them. There's not as many now, but there still are some. Mainly the school district is going after appeals. If a property owner isn't doing it themselves, it's usually the school district who's going after them based on house sales and things like that, to try to, I guess, get the value up to what the sale price was. I'm not exactly sure what their rationale is. I'm just assuming that. But in any case, if you have any questions about the notes I have on there, let me know. We're not in any trouble with just this one reduction, and most of them recently have been higher, have gone up. So just so you're aware of that. Bill Goral.
Yeah, Steve, I did want to mention that I had stated this in the past, and I knew that, you know, this would be coming down the line. I did mention, I think, to everyone at one point in time that there were a lot of properties in the borough that Allegheny County owns. For them to go from 1.2, I think Steve said, or 1.3 down to 400,000, that's like a third of what we were receiving from before. I don't know if anyone else is aware of the building, but this is the one that I believe that was just finished on Ardmore a few years ago.
That should go up in value.
Yeah, they put way more than $1 million into it. And it's just disheartening, number one. Number two, Steve, I would like Wendy or Allison to kind of give a little synopsis for all of council in regards to the Allegheny County owned parcels in the borough and the lost taxes across that in comparison to our entire tax base of Forest Hills. At one point in time, when I got on to council, I'd asked Allison to see this, and I talked to Steve about it as well. And this was 4 years ago now. So I believe there were 30 to 40-ish properties on there. And, you know, that was when Allegheny County Housing had just taken over the building on Ardmore we're discussing right now, that just got a huge tax break. So, Steve, if we could put something together in regards to that.
That would be me. I have the list that every year that they send me.
Did they send that list again? Because I know that there was a delay in COVID and all that stuff.
That's a good question. I don't remember if I got the current list or not. I mean, I have one for last year.
Yeah, Steve, last year's will work. Last year's will work. And if you just sort it by Allegheny County, they'll all pop up to the top. That's why I just looked at them all.
Yeah, I can do that and email it out to everybody.
That would be helpful. Yep.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, not a problem. Just give me a little bit of time.
Yeah,
I'm going to be
no rush. No
probably
rush.
within a week. So I'll be out part of this week and part of next week. But yeah, not a problem.
Marcus,
Thank
you
you.
have your hand up?
Yeah, I have a question for that veterans housing, which I agree seems like totally out of whack. Steve Corbell, does it make sense for us to join the school district as a party in that appeal, or we just let school district do the work and we just benefit?
Yes, I don't know if everybody remembers, but this exact same thing happened with the other senior high-rise property on Ardmore, next to the Speedy Mart.
Yeah.
And what here's what happens is that the county assigns a value, and then they finally file an appeal. And because the way to value those properties is more complex than just this is how much was spent to construct it, oftentimes their value is based on a income basis. And so this is a subsidized housing project. As you know, some of the tenants are paying market type rates, but others are not. And so this is what happens. It's not unusual. I was surprised at the extent of it. Not that I expected a reduction, but what I can do is I can reach out to the district's solicitor and just see what the plan is for here. Typically, you can appeal this to the Board of Viewers, and there's more of a negotiation that occurs and these numbers can change, but I can look into it, Marcus, and report back at a future meeting.
That would be helpful.
I mean, I assume the school district will be on top of their list, but still
No,
doesn't hurt to be part of that.
It definitely will, and it'll just be helpful to give us some context.
Yeah.
And I just checked while you guys were talking, and I do have the 2021 list, Bill Goral, so I'll make sure I look at that and separate out the county stuff.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay,
Anybody else on the assessment change? Item E is the same thing I had on Public Works, but I wanted to just give you a little bit more detail on this. We're following Marcus's suggestion, if you remember, about use of bond issue funds, and the three things that he had suggested, three categories was new backhoe, the truck replacement for 3 trucks in the Westinghouse Rec Center. And I wanted to make sure everyone's aware that if we were to do all of those in full, that would exceed the $500,000. Remember that some of those trucks that are in the capital plan start in a given year and go out 5 years lease purchase. So if you looked at one that only had 3 years on there, there was 2 more years beyond the 5-year plan that were also going to be part of that. So I talked with Jimmy about that, and he suggests if we eliminate truck 74, you're already doing the backhoe, but eliminate truck 74 and do the 2 remaining trucks along with the backhoe, that would come up to about $350,500. So you'd still have about another $150 to use for the Westinghouse Rec. He suggests that's a good idea. So if you're okay with that, there's nothing you have to vote on here. You'll vote on it when you finally do decide to spend money on a given truck or what have you. But if you're okay with that, I'll just pursue that with Jim. He also did want me to remind you, though, as I think he said in Public Works last week, that there has been a delay, as there is with just about everything right now, in getting trucks, and chassis in particular are not easily found right now, and the prices are rising. So he's probably going to recommend to you, after he does some checking on prices in September, that you may want to then go for those other couple of trucks right away. So I just want to point that out to you. The numbers that we have in the budget are only estimates too, so hopefully they're still within bounds, but we don't know that for sure because of this shortage. And of course, as usual, the Finance Committee will review the final bond issue stuff, and then it will go for a vote as you start picking out the work you want to do. I'd like to worry about the trucks. We already got the backhoe going. I'd like to worry about the trucks next, and then we'll worry about the Westinghouse Rec, if you're okay with that, because we're going to be out of the season, the best season anyway. So you have a little bit of time to do stuff with the rec, if you're okay with that. Any problems or questions there?
I think that's the right sequence. Yep.
Okay, good.
Good.
The outstanding items I have listed, you already know about the tree service issue, and the third bullet, the American Rescue Plan. You know about that, how much we got already. You would ask me, I want to go to the third issue before I go to number 2. You would ask me to have the engineer get what our estimate is for the Alcosan sewer line regionalization thing. They estimated it's going to cost us $215,000. I think you said you wanted to use that as part of the ARPA funds, which would still give us money left over, of course, for other sewer related things. So I just wanted to point that out to you. He just got me that number today. That's what the estimate is. It looks like everybody but 2 other communities have signed off on that. And he said he's close to getting them to sign too. Yeah. You folks already approved everything with that. So it's just a question of using the money in that respect for this. You may have to vote again just to make it formal that you're using ARPA funds for that, even though I think you've already approved the memorandum of understanding.
Yes.
So I'll double check with Steve on that later, Steve Corbel, but I'm pretty sure that makes sense. Going back up to bullet number 2, the actual evaluation reports. I sent you, we did get from Mockenhop, as you recommended, they went with the updated version, and we just sent that to you today in an email so you can take a look at it. You may have seen it before already. Some people have said they thought they already got it in an email, but I didn't want to take a chance that some people hadn't seen it. Now, of course, Mockenhop will come in September with the MMO information. They should have that ready for Finance Committee because typically you approve that at the September business meeting. Colleen Deere has offered to come out and speak with you. I would suggest if she's available, the September Finance Committee would make sense if you're okay with that. I don't know if she's okay with that. And she also is willing to meet with the employees to explain to them what the pension changes are. She suggests that makes sense in her letter, in her email to us. So unless there's some objection, I'll see what she wants to do with that. And I will also see if I can get her for the September 7th meeting. The meetings in September are the 2nd, that's a Thursday, and the 7th, a Tuesday, the day after Labor Day, just to refresh your memory. So are you okay with having her come?
Yes, I think that would be helpful. I think, by that time we will have all the materials, everybody will have a chance to read it, and she can answer any questions because we will have to make a decision on our MMO allotment at that time. So it would be good to have a chance to talk to her about that.
Okay, I'll see if she's available for the 7th. If not, I'll see if there's any other alternative that she might have, and I'll let you know. And if you don't have any more questions for me, that's all I have.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions about that? I think we're good. Okay. I wanted to let you know that we have a number of opportunities to file for grants under the Transportation Alternative Set Aside Grant. I think they're due on October 8th. I will be looking at these materials. In particular, you're going to be hearing about our active transportation plan in a few minutes.
Pre-app is due on the September 10th, Patty, just so
What?
you know. The pre-application is
Yeah.
due on September 10th. Okay.
Yeah, but that's like a one-page letter. That's not
Okay.
that we can
Okay.
manage. So I wanted to just make you aware that we have a number of suggestions that you're going to hear about in the active transportation plan shortly that I think would fit under this grant. And I think we should definitely try to get some implementation funds in order to help implement these things so we don't have to put them all on our own capital budget. I don't know about the T-Mobile grant opportunity. I think this one will be more likely to go through the CDC. I'm not quite sure that one aligned as well with our.
Yeah, that came through the Council of Governments. They
Yeah.
had notified us, but I went on their website and it's rotating. The deadlines are by season. So
Yeah.
there's time. And that's everything I could get on it, all the highlights of what they would expect if you apply.
Yeah.
So it's up to you how you want to recommend.
I would like to look into that one a little bit more. And again, if we're looking at some improvements for amenities down in the business district that might fit here, that might be something we could look at. But I couldn't see an immediate application. And I think that comes out in small amounts. 50,000 is the maximum, but there's amounts under that we might look at. So again, this is something we don't have a lot of time, but we have some time to look for that one. And
If I could add, if the CDC is going to do it, then they would be the ones who would supervise it, just so
Right.
you know.
right.
Okay.
So they're meeting next week sometime and we can talk to them about what they decide to go. Okay.
Did you want me to
Anything else?
forward this to Jackie Dempsey, these notes?
Let me look at it again.
Okay, you tell me, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the order in Finance Committee? I will continue to look for grant opportunities for things that seem to fit with our needs. We've been pretty successful in getting grants so far, but I think we have some more spaces we can look to occupy for that. Yeah. Okay. All right, Steve, I think we're done.
So
Okay,
Oh,
hang
yeah,
on. Hang on.
yeah, Marcus, you have one more thing?
Yeah. I talked to you about it actually. The senior rec building right now, I think is a perfect time to sell anything barely structurally sound, people pay a premium it. And I really think we need to sell that senior rec building as soon as we can to take benefit. Like a flip, I heard like flippers actually have trouble finding houses they can flip. So that house would be perfect for a flipper to put like 2 apartments in or whatever they want to do. So what can we do to get it back on the market? I don't know I know we put it on the market years ago, no takers, but I think now it's the right time to put it on the market. And I would like to, I know it's maybe Borough property as well. Maybe we push it to the committee of the whole, but I would like to get something started as soon as we can.
Yeah, Steve?
I just want to let you know that we've used that place for a lot of storage, not to say that we shouldn't get rid of it. I don't mean that. But there's a lot of stuff down there that's being stored right now that we do need to get rid of. Most of it's stuff that we'll be able to put on municipal. I think we've gotten everything that's good out of there, that's usable. The stuff that we have that could be sold on municipal is still usable, but it's older materials, older chairs, older tables, number of different things down there that we haven't gotten rid of. So if we're going to do something, I need kind of a timeline too, so that I can make sure that it's going to take a lot of effort from the public works to help me get some of that stuff out of there. And we may even need to dispose of some of it if it's not able to be sold, which requires us to go through a few steps with you folks. So it might take a little bit of time. It won't be instant, but I'm not again saying we shouldn't do it.
Like, we can contribute it to the Edgewood Acres yard sale in a couple weeks. Sorry.
It's like a Steve Corbel question. We can't just give it to a real estate agent to sell it. I don't know, we had to do some funky things to sell something. What can we do to get it, put it back on the market as soon as we can?
So if you just want to sell to the highest bidder without concern about what will occur there, we would just advertise it and ask for bids. When we sold the old Borough building, we did have a different process where we qualified bidders, we asked for proposals as to what they would do, etc. That'll take a little more time, but is also an option for council. But the short answer is no, you can't just list it with a real estate agent. And
that's what I figured. But yeah. I would like to start the process as soon as we can. I mean, if everyone else agrees with me, of course.
I do, yeah. We should be selling it. We're spending a lot of money on that building.
I mean, Bill Gore, do you have an opinion? I see your hand raised.
Yeah, Marcus, I just want to tell Steve that I recuse myself from even discussing anything in regards to this, as this is my main business.
But maybe that's a good sign if you want to accuse yourself. So I think that's a good sign.
Okay. All right. I think that's it then for our committee. Thank you.
Oh, hang on. Do we put it on the committee of the whole that we can get it started tonight?
No, I think we can do the directive to get started on preparations. I mean, it's
You don't need to go to committee of the whole. You've already said that now.
right. Yeah.
So
in that directive.
Okay.
Okay. Well, give me a few seconds.
Well, Steve is transferring over. Make sure you look at your budget preparation documents. It's helpful, and I know Steve appreciates any input we can give him on things. So good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm good with the committee of the whole, Mr. Tomasic, and we had the active transportation plan presentation up first, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, can you hear me? Am I live?
Yes.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
All right, I'll make Mr. Joya active here. There he is. Mr. Joya, you're good to go.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I share my screen at all, or is that not
Yeah.
possible?
Wait a second. Let me.
Yep.
Yes, you can.
Sure.
I need to give you permission.
Thank you.
So just so everybody knows, David DeJoya is the principal on our active transportation plan consulting contract, and they've been doing an amazing job. And we had some documents that we were distributing at the farmers market, and they'll be in the Borough building lobby tomorrow.
Yeah, I have to take you out of here and put you back in. Let me do that a minute. Okay, I hope you're there. I made you a panelist, and you can share your screen, I think. Yes, wait a minute. Yes, you can share your screen. Go ahead. It should be good, Mr. DeJoyer. You're muted.
There we go. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for giving us the opportunity to present this tonight. As Patty said, we've been involved with developing the active transportation plan since about January timeframe. So since then, we've held several stakeholder meetings. We've had some public meetings. As Patty mentioned, we went to the farmers market and tried to get some input. So I just had a quick PowerPoint or presentation to show you some of the ideas. Before I start that, just so everybody's aware, I'm sure you've heard active transportation be said all the time. So let me just show this right here. Can you see that? Just want to give it kind of an overview. Basically, an active transportation plan, which is defined. PennDOT has a definition of it. We're working under the WalkWorks grant, which has definition. An active transportation plan is intended to inspire action to implement improvements, programs, policies to increase mobility of residents, in this case of Forest Hills. And the plan is for everyone. It identifies physical improvement strategies to help make the borough a safer place and move about regardless of travel mode. So it's kind of the framework for everything that we do for the active transportation plan. And again, it's a plan. It's a plan we try to put in place to identify areas where we may need improvement or focus in how we can connect things within the borough. So really, I just wanted to go through real quick on this side too, is we've had, I mentioned the stakeholders meetings, and those meetings have been well attended by residents of the borough, as well as great representation from PennDOT, the county, Bike Pittsburgh. We've had some really good agency input on things, which I feel is very important for a borough like Forest Hills when you have a major route like Route 30, that runs through the center of your town. So we were able to get some really good feedback from those stakeholders and really get some assistance and coordination and really try to develop some things to move forward to help the borough not only develop projects but actually implement and get them done. So this presentation here is I just want to mention the goal was to meet with the public and then develop a plan. And we have a draft plan that's going to be available in a few days that is basically 5 chapters in the plan. It's an overview, an existing conditions chapter, our active transportation solutions, our catalyst projects, and then how do we achieve that vision. My presentation here, just wanted to talk about each one of these real quickly with the group here. This project vision was actually developed by our stakeholder steering committee. This is what their vision was for the plan for the borough is, allow all people will be able to move freely and safely about Forest Hills Borough, regardless of age, ability, or mode of travel. So we have some lofty visions, with this plan. This is just a map that we've developed, and it's in the plan as well, that identifies possible transportation enhancements within the borough. Again, this is kind of looking at a big picture, and you can notice we show existing features like sidewalk. You've got crazy steps in the borough, bus routes, bus stops, and then we looked at, well, where can we do some enhancements? Where can we identify enhancement areas for within the borough? So the blue lines are proposed sidewalks, the sharrows, which are actually a bike lane, shared lane for bike and car. You got future transit route, the road diet, and even improved stormwater management. So, and I can talk about some of these specifically in our catalyst projects, but it's kind of an overall map that we've developed from public input as well as from our stakeholders and steering committee. If anyone's got any questions, please throw them out as I'm talking too. So I don't mind answering questions there. So when I mentioned catalyst projects, what we try to do with the active transportation plan is we've got many things we want to do. Everybody has something that needs fixed, from just a simple sidewalk in one area to major corridors in the borough. So what we try to do is focus on areas that we can identify as kind of a project area. And we have identified 3 areas within the borough. And the first one we identified is Ardmore Boulevard, which is, you're all familiar, it's the business district on Route 30, and develop kind of a framework of what some of the things we could be doing to help improve that area. And some of the things you can see on the screen is the orange lines here are extensions of sidewalks to try to make crossings of the road better. Even a possible mid-block crossing within the corridor. Some stormwater management within the median of Route 30. It's interesting, and as residents, you're all probably aware that Route 30 is unique history as being a trolley line. Has because of the history, it has brought to where you are today, where you have such a wide median within the borough. So there's been a lot of discussion on what we can do. What kind of things can we incorporate by utilizing the median, shrinking the median if we need to, or stormwater management features where we can. So definitely the median is an asset, for sure within the borough, and we want to look at ways that we can make that better for connectivity and movement of people. The other possibility on Route 30 was, maybe an off-street parking where we can eliminate some of the on-street parking to try to widen the sidewalks a little bit to make it a little more pleasant and approachable for your businesses along Route 30. Again, these are kind of the overarching projects we look at to try to develop some goals to where we can head with active transportation. And I'll talk later, you mentioned funding and Patty mentioned some of the sources. We also identify funding sources and other ways to try to do some of these things with other sources. So Ardmore is our first catalyst project. The second catalyst project is Greensburg Pike. Again, on the edge of the borough, you're familiar with Greensburg Pike. It's a 4-lane road, sometimes parking, sometimes not parking. It eventually goes down to 2 lanes as you go into the Turtle Creek area. So one of the thoughts on Greensburg Pike is possibly a road diet, which basically means shrinking the road down. Instead of 4 lanes, maybe we can go with 3 lanes. Looking at ways that we can try to make better use of the existing right-of-way for pedestrians, bicyclists, as well as cars in this corridor. One of the other suggestions on Greensburg Pike was, adding transit routes. So the transit routes on Greensburg Pike have been there or are no longer there now. The Port Authority was involved, and we talked to them about possibly having some routes being added back to the Greensburg Pike corridor. And again, some of the things we can do here is the Sharrows, which is the shared bike lane, better pedestrian crossings to help pedestrians to cross the road, and features that we can do within a road diet feature. The third project area we identified is Brinton Road. This was brought up a lot in our stakeholder meetings. Particularly for a lot of bicyclists who are interested in Brinton, because Brinton eventually gets down into the city or down into the Parkway area, and there's some potential for bicycle activity along Brinton Road. And as you know, Brinton's a difficult corridor. It's a 2-lane road, very residential, not much shoulder. It's a high transit line. So some of the thoughts there, we're trying to, again, shrink the cross section as much as we can to allow for pedestrian path, even a sidewalk, or areas where we can increase the walkability and bikeability of Brinton Road. One of the interesting things about Brinton Road is there's actually a PennDOT project that's occurring that we have some potential of getting some of our ideas into a project that PennDOT is already looking at doing. So those are some of the things that come out of the stakeholder meetings that are invaluable, where we can work with the department and hopefully get some of the things we desire into their project as they're doing design and construction of the project. So again, the 3 main areas we identified are these: Ardmore, Greensburg Pike, and Brinton Road. again, this is a table in our report. I won't go through all the details, but we have for these catalyst projects, we try to identify some short-term actions we can do, some medium-term actions, and some long-term actions. A plan is only as good as we can implement it. So we want to make sure that the plan actually has ways that we can implement and achieve the goals we have in the plan. So we really try to identify ways that we can do that. Just as a
Quick
let everybody
question.
know.
Quick
Yeah.
question, on the Greensburg Pike issue.
Yep.
Do you know whether a formal traffic study was done in Churchill for the Amazon project? Is there something that they have on the record that we might be able to use?
I don't know for sure, but they are required to do a traffic study for a site like that. So
Yeah.
we did talk about that in our stakeholders meeting about trying to work with Amazon or getting in touch with Amazon to see what some of the things. Again, with a site like that, they would have to look at what their impact is to the adjacent roadways and how they're going to mitigate it. And it would be nice for the borough to have some conversation, with Amazon and or Churchill Borough, since you are such neighbors there.
Yeah.
And I would encourage that conversation now. I think the Amazon process, we know it's Amazon. For a while there, we didn't know it was officially Amazon. We know it's Amazon. We know they're looking at doing it. The reports probably aren't public information right now, but we could probably get those eventually. So they do get submitted to the boroughs for review. So I would definitely keep that as a focus, so we can talk to them. And not just Amazon, really, anytime we have a large development, be nice to actually try to incorporate some things where we can, particularly when it's something like that, it's so adjacent to the borough.
Okay.
I wanted to mention that what we did for public input originally was we developed an interactive map. Some of you may have been on it, saw it. We had a map where you could go in on a website and actually list any issues you had. And this picture's early on. We had a lot of dots on the map, so we really did get a lot of good information and feedback from public, not only through this vehicle, through the stakeholders. Even the farmers market was a great place to be and give information out to the public. Next steps. Right now, we want to continue our public input. The draft report is almost ready to be released. So we would release the draft report with the intent to have the public meeting on Wednesday, August 18th. So we'd like to release the report, anytime between now and then, so it's out on the street and people can take a look at it.
Literally, how soon? Because I was assuming we would have it before tonight.
We actually, it is
I've seen a draft, so
yeah, we have a couple holes in it that need filled, and that's what I'm working on. It could be as early as tomorrow. We have
nobody else is going to care about the holes except you. So I mean, what I've seen looked pretty comprehensive. So if you
we do, and I can get that to you, Patty, tomorrow at some time. I actually have a copy here. It's really it looks good and ready to go.
But the electronic version should go on the website, and that should go to Angelo Biocchi, who is on the meeting tonight.
Yep, I will do that. I will get that prepared and sent over. So then we can hold the public meeting on the 18th. After that meeting, we would finalize the report with any kind of comments or any additional things that would make sense to incorporate into the report, with the intent to move towards a September 15th adoption of the plan at one of your meetings.
And that's the requirement of our grant, that it be done before September 30th, right?
Correct.
So we have
Correct.
2 weeks after that. Okay.
Correct. So that's kind of my presentation on that. I did want to show you one more thing before I have a couple. These are the boards we actually brought with us to the farmers market. And Patty, I think I'll get these to the Borough building or somewhere so we can put them out there, just so people can see. It has a little bit more of a summary of each of the catalyst projects on them. So you can see we have these cross sections that we developed in pictures. So Patty, I'll work with you on getting those to the Borough building so we can have something there for for those. And again, there's one for Britton Road, Greensburg Pike, as well as Ardmore Boulevard. And then the one thing I did want to show you, because you were just talking, this is our last chapter in the report is really how do we achieve the vision. And one of the things I wanted to talk about just briefly, and again, this is in the report, this is the table you saw before, is potential funding opportunities. One of the goals of this report is really to help you identify additional funding. And Patty, you've been great at finding some of the funding sources with the Walkworks grant, with our Complete Streets policy. There's a table in this report that lists many of the funding opportunities, and we categorize them by what types of capital improvements can be used in the different sources. You mentioned the transportation alternative set aside, so that is one of them listed here. And it goes on and on from the PennDOT multimodal to DCED multimodal, greenways trails, the ARLE program. I don't know if you've had any ARLE program grants, which is the red light running enforcement monies that come in and they use for other improvements for traffic signals. So we really try to identify ways that we can fund projects that we'd like to do. And again, it's a two-page summary. This will be in the report for you to have as well. I know since you were talking about funding in the grants, Patty, I just wanted to show this to everybody. That's kind of where we're at right now with everything. And any questions, I'll gladly entertain them.
Okay, and you'll be at the hearing next Wednesday, right? And
Yes, I will. Are we going to be in person for that, Patty?
yes, it is an in-person meeting. Yeah. Mhm.
Good.
And I think at the beginning, you can take a few minutes to summarize this for the public. Is that right, Bill? Is that what we would do? For the hearing, would you want him to do this kind of a brief summary before the
However you want to present it.
Yep.
Is fine with me, unless there's any objections from the rest of council.
Yeah, it might be helpful to give at least a brief synopsis of the Catalyst projects for the public who might come.
Sure.
We are putting out a public service announcement about it, and it will be on the webpage as soon as you get the material to Angela.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, anyone?
If you want to show the PowerPoint, I can hook you up to our system in there so anybody in the audience can see it.
Perfect.
I assume are you going to bring your own laptop, et cetera, or?
Yes, I
okay.
can. Yep, I can.
Okay, not a problem. I can use it. I have an HDMI connection. I can
Awesome.
get that up. So.
Okay. Dave, it's been really exciting to learn all of this with your guys. You've been wonderful to work with, and
It's been good working with the borough. Look forward to helping get the plan finalized and hopefully see some improvements down the line. So
absolutely,
it's wonderful. As some of you know, I grew up down the street in Penn Hill, so I invested in the communities around here. So and our office is in Wilkins Township, so we love the area.
okay.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Steve.
Okay, I'll try to go through mine fairly quickly. COVID issues, I'd hope to have an update from Keith Morris. He's still away, so I don't have anything. When I get something, I will let you know. I'm assuming, though, we're still good to go on a meeting with restrictions on the 18th. I'm assuming we're still okay to hold the volunteer employee picnic on the 27th. Nobody has any objection to that, unless something would change in the next 10 days or so. We're going to try to follow some of the suggestions you guys made last week, I think, to either move the food distribution outside or to make sure we limit access to that area, maybe spread people out on the picnic tables more. We use the microphone so people can be heard. Item B is just an FYI. Andy sent you a email with the PA Municipal League 2021 Leadership Summit invitation. That's their annual conference that we usually send a representative to. That's not the proper grammar, but you know what I mean. It's October 7th to the 9th. That's a Thursday through Saturday. This one's going to be held in Lancaster. And I gave you some of the highlights. I also gave you a link there that you can use to go to their website. If you want to sign up, we can register you, or you can register yourself and then just fill out a expense report and get reimbursed. It's up to you. I've gone in the past, and I know Mr. Marco has gone in the past. I don't know if anybody else has gone or not. You know, I wasn't planning on doing it, but let me know if you need me to represent you or something.
I think, well, I will plan to go. I think I was the voting delegate last time, and they do vote on resolutions at that time. And I think we get them in advance, so council could decide if they wanted to support them or not. But I think
Okay.
I would like to plan to go to that, conditions permitting.
Okay, good, good. So Annie has the information if you don't have it on your email.
Okay.
Item C, I had mentioned this at Office and Policy last week, and I said I was going to redo it, repeat it again. I gave you a summary article from Campbell Durant about the changes in the Sunshine Act rules regarding agendas. Now, again, I'm not going to repeat all this stuff, but I wanted to make sure you saw this if you weren't there last week. Most of this is stuff we already do. We already put out an agenda on the borough's website. The only difference is that with this new rule, we have to be more precise on what we're putting in there. So my plan is still to give you a draft agenda in advance. This will start in September, although I'll try to do it this month as well. Give you a draft agenda, usually a few days in advance. And what we've done in the past is that draft will sometimes have tentative language on or a lot of asterisks as placeholders. What I need to do by the day before the meeting is get a more final agenda prepared that can go on our website in time for 24 hours before the meeting. So my suggestion to facilitate this, we already do this to an extent anyway, is that after you review the draft agenda, any changes, any specifications, any language you want to add should go directly to Mr. Tomasic. So it's all filtered through one person. And then Mr. Tomasic can let me know the morning before the meeting, the morning of the day before the meeting. And I can finish the agenda, remove it from being a draft to being a final agenda. Because if you read the article, you have to be specific about what's on there. And if you add something to the agenda, you can do that, but you have certain protocols you have to follow to do that. So please take a look at that article. It's attached again to this agenda. I'll repeat this in September because I'm going to need you to remember that I need you to be real specific about the agenda in time for the September 15th meeting. So on the September 14th morning, I would need, actually it's my grandfather's birthday, I would need that to be there for me before noon so I could finish compiling it and get it on to the website. Hopefully Angela will be available to do that in time. But the earlier I have that final stuff, the better. So please take a look at that. You have to be very specific now about agendas starting September 1st. Anybody have any questions about that?
I would just like to state that in addition to them submitting it to the council president, that you should be CC'd as well. So if anybody is going to submit anything to the council president, as stated on the note, that you are CC'd as well, so that we both have copies to work off, rather than me taking something and then doing something without.
Well, right, but I just want to make sure I check in with you that before I do the final. So
I agree. I'm just saying that if that change is going to be asked for, then it's better if both of us get the copy.
Okay, that's fine. So you'll need to be sharp on that if you want to have anything on an agenda. Item D is more an FYI. Temporarily, Duquesne Light is asking for use of some borough property for a substation during PennDOT work. And I repeated the email that I got from the Duquesne Light representative. It's all tentative right now. They don't know exactly yet what location they will want to use for this. But I did attach a map, which I'll show on the screen here briefly for those of you who maybe didn't, whoops, wrong place. There we go. I did attach a map that shows that this part of Ryan Glen Park, right along Ardmore Boulevard, across from where Masters Insurance is, but they would want to put up a temporary substation for use during the construction period that PennDOT's using. Now, he wants to get back to me on specifics, and he hasn't done that yet. But I didn't want you not to see this, since they may ask us to take some borough property temporarily for use. This is a wooded area. It's behind Ryan Glen Park. The playground is over this area here. There's a gazebo right behind it, this wooded area, and then back here is more woods.
How can you
So-
put a substation in a wooden area? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. but-
I assume they would want to take some trees down. I don't know.
I don't want them taking trees down for a temporary substation. What are they thinking?
I don't know.
No, no, they're not allowed to do this. I'll talk to them. This is ridiculous. They can't take down trees in a park for a temporary substation.
I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. That's just nuts. There's got to be someplace else they can use that doesn't require taking down parkland.
I
Okay, that's
think
why-
a temporary substation is like a trailer, like a big tractor trailer size. Maybe it has space in the church parking lot. I don't
Yeah,
know.
put it somewhere that's already paved. You don't want to have them plunking down in the middle of a wooded area next to a park. That just makes no sense whatsoever.
Right, that's why I wanted to bring it up to you tonight.
Yeah,
I figured
well,
there'd be some concerns.
I will call them on the phone and talk to them in my utility voice and find out what they think they're doing, okay?
Okay, well, if you want to, I can try to forward you his
Yes.
email. I just have to remember to do that. Let me make a note to do that. Forward email to Patty.
I'll be in tomorrow afternoon to sign checks, so I can take care of it while I'm there.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in and out tomorrow, so I'd rather
Yeah.
forward the email to you to
Okay,
make sure you get it. So I'll try to remember to do that for tomorrow. Okay, yeah, last item I have other than reminder notes under item F, citizen engagement project. I brought this up last week with our intern. Our intern gave you that report at Ops and Policy. And what I mentioned at the end that you might want to review it again and wait till September. I talked with Angelo, who had been working directly with the intern, and he asked if I could bring it up again at committee of the whole rather than make you wait until September, because there may be a chance that the intern would have a little bit of time before he left to do some work starting on this. So I wanted to mention that to you. Briefly, he recommended 3 things: using Savvy Citizen, establishing protocols for operations, and using a social media czar to oversee. Now, that was just a brief summary of the direct engagement stuff we had talked about. There was more to it, obviously, because he also talked a little bit about Twitter and about our website and about the Tree City Times. So in any case, I wanted to mention that to you. He had asked if I would at least bring it up to you to see if you would want to start talking about it tonight.
Well, I don't know what the discussion is going to be. We have the recommendations. We should probably discuss them. Is this going to be in addition to what we have presently?
Yes.
I think we already have protocols that's part of what we have in place. We probably have some modifications, et cetera, but it's not going to be any different. As terms of a social media czar, I really don't understand that concept, who that would go to in such a small borough as what we have here. Generally, our messages have been sent to the chief, and when he's going to use the phone system that we have in place, that basically Mr. Morris and Chuck had made that decision. This seems like it could be a little bit more complicated, so we'd probably have to have some discussion on that.
I thought.
I don't want to jump into this until, we've discussed it in detail from my point of view. Anybody want to speak to that?
Yeah, I think the report is very, it involves a great deal. Angelo is on the meeting. It might be good to hear from him about it because he's been overseeing the whole project, and I'd like to hear his opinion about it if he can tell us a little bit. I did look at the report. It's got a lot of really good material in it, and I think it has Certainly the recommendation to use Savvy Citizen is extremely helpful. I know we've been using the public service mechanism, but Savvy Citizen is used in a number of communities to great advantage. But I would like to, Mr. Biota.
That's, I don't have any problem with that. Is Angelo present?
Yeah.
He is. I can.
Okay,
activate him
if
you
he would
want.
like to speak to this, I mean, I really think that we should do this under ops and policy and have a discussion there. But at this point in time, if he would like to engage.
He's live. Angela, you can
Okay.
talk.
Okay, yeah, I think, just to be clear, the primary focus was to develop, an engagement with the citizens. Savvy Citizen, as was already mentioned, was the platform that would be used. The mention of the social media czar, I think it's a little misleading. What Ken developed was a set of guidelines that should be followed when using any type of social media. And so those would be incorporated into whatever procedures would be used to when working with Savvy Citizen or Facebook or Twitter or any of the other accounts.
Okay, that's basically what he said at the meeting the other night.
Yes.
Okay, but I did not remember that social media czar thing.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, I think I don't want to, like I said, I don't think we need to jump into this right away, but I don't think there was any opposition and anybody said that Savvy Citizen wasn't a good addition to what we have already. I'd just like to go through a step-by-step process here, starting with ops and policy and run that through. If we need to add to that in the committee as a whole, that wouldn't be a problem, but I think we should start there and establish, first of all, we're going to add to it the Savvy Citizen. And then after we decide to do that, then we would go to the protocols and then procedures, which I guess is the substitute for social media czar.
Yeah, and just also mention that there are a number of other recommendations that were listed that were no cost improvements, things to the website. We added like contact forms that would help with communication, capturing the email information for residents so that we could send them periodic newsletters outside of Savvy Citizen, which would be used primarily for emergency reporting and those kinds of things.
Right. He discussed or presented all of that. So I would just suggest that we go to the committee, the ops and policy, and then Angelo, if you would like to participate in that, well, you could do that as well, being that you're part of this process that we're going through next month. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that would be fine. Also in consideration that the intern will not be available at that point.
Well, that's just a problem we're going to have to deal with. I don't think we'd need him to establish basically everything that he was in the report. I think we could just use that report.
Right. I just meant that I had been working with him, so I understand,
Okay.
If there's any questions, I'll be able to answer those.
That would be good. That would be good. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else there?
If I could just add.
Go ahead, Jack. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I would encourage that it is a complex set of present suggestions, and we don't have to accept all of them or necessarily at the same time, but to expedite this, ops and policies would be helpful if all the borough council members would take the time in the next month to really read that report again and mull it over and see if you can see anything that you have questions about.
I should
so
mention
that when we go into ops and policies and Cal, everyone's prepared.
I should mention he did revise it one more time and make a few changes and corrections. I just got that this afternoon, so I'll send that version out to you. It's not too different, but there is some sections that are changed. So I'll send that out to you tomorrow or Thursday.
All right, let's move on to the next
Yeah,
item.
that's all I have, Mr. Tomasic.
Okay, so let's go to the solicitor's report, please, Mr. Corbel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple quick items here. With respect to the solid waste and recycling contract, we have a draft of the specs, et cetera, that are 98% complete. We are awaiting some feedback from Waste Management with respect to the glass issue. As everybody knows, glass recycling is an issue. So what we have done is approached it from providing alternatives to the bidders for curbside, if they're actually really recycling it, not collecting glass, as well as having a central location within the borough where folks can take their glass. And this is in discussions with Mr. Lawrence. And so what we're waiting for from Waste Management is guidance as to the size of the central location, how big those glass collection containers should be, and what fits for the borough. So once we get that, I'd like to have 2 or 3 options. We'll put those different sizes in the bid specs and we'll be good to go. Otherwise, the entire package is identical to the last contract that we had. So if everybody is okay with that general approach, you could authorize me to advertise it by motion at the next meeting, and obviously would work with Mr. Lawrence to ensure he's comfortable with what he and I have been discussing for the last 6 weeks or so. So that's the first issue. If folks are
Okay, well, let's stop there, please, for a minute. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Corbel concerning those issues that he mentioned? As he stated, the only difference is going to be the glass containers for collection. So I think that we're on the right track here. Anybody?
I have one question.
Well, Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah.
I think he's up. Then Patty? Jack?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Patty?
I just wondered if the contract includes customer information and education in a little more diligent manner than we've experienced to date. I think especially regarding the recycling, there's a lot of confusion among people. And I know we did try to have a couple of workshops about it, but the materials we got from Waste Management were pretty inadequate to the task. So I'm hoping that we have in the contract some provision that requires them to be a little more diligent in their outreach to the customers about the conduct of the recycling especially.
Yeah, so if there is any change to the current service, they are required to communicate those changes to the borough residents. If there's a particular type of communication or a number of communications, I mean, that's something that we can address with them once they win the contract. I'm not so sure putting all those, in the weeds type details, which are important. I'm not discounting that. It should be part of the discussion tonight, but they are required to communicate changes to the residents.
Communicate has not been very effective to date. I mean, you can't
Right.
get the phone, people have questions, they have no place to go. You invite them to speak and they don't show up. I mean,
But again, this is assuming they are the successful bidder. We don't know that they will be. And I can tell you that the issues that you've been dealing with respect to people having difficulty communicating with them by telephone, et cetera, having representatives show up at meetings, it's not just Forest Hills
I know.
that's experiencing that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, move on to the next one, please, Solicitor.
Vine Alley. I was asked whether or not the erection of the no throughway signs required a traffic study. My response is that it does not. We also checked with the borough engineer, Dave Gilland, and he concurred. So as far as I can tell, the only thing that you all should do is direct me to prepare and advertise an ordinance, and it should be ready to go for consideration at the September meeting. To extend it, we're talking up through Atlantic Avenue. It's currently listed as Halsey to Ardmore, and so we would also add Halsey to, or Atlantic to Halsey as well.
Okay, that was discussed at the last public safety committee, so that's what we'd like you to do. Just one question before we end there.
Sure.
Speaking to Frank Mastandrea, he was concerned because of the accidents that we make sure that they're sort of set off with different sets, because we're still going to have the throughway off of Marion going across Halsey to the back area. And Frank asked that we put up some type of emergency vehicle signs or something like that. Do we have to do anything through council to do something like that, or can we just have the manager decide what we're going to put up there?
Yeah, those are informational, Bill. I don't think we would be issuing citations on that issue. So we would.
So what I would like to do then is have Mr. Morris, Mr. Thielacker, and the chief, both Mastandrea and Chuck Williams, discuss where they would be appropriate for that intersection. Okay, and then they can just do that without coming back to council. We would simply authorize them to put the signs up as they feel proper. Is that okay, everybody? Okay, that takes care of that issue. Thank you. You have anything else for us, Mr. Corbel?
Yeah, two quick items. We do have a fully executed license agreement with the Roman Bistro. I believe Mr. Tomasic executed tonight on behalf of the borough.
Not yet.
He will be doing so shortly.
No, but it has to be notarized, so I have to be present with the notary, so that will be done tomorrow, for the record.
Shortly, meaning tomorrow, with Wendy present. And we received the signed copy from Action Housing at the end of last week. So that thing is, that issue is put to bed at the moment. And then lastly, Steve, I was going to talk about the Sunshine Act, but Steve has that covered. The Sunshine Act amendments, I'm fully versed. I know that we keep referring to the Campbell Durant summary that was sent, but I'm prepared to help and assist. And I think Campbell Durant got it pretty much the same way I'm interpreting the revisions. So Steve's plan sounds sufficient to me. I do expect there to be some growing pains and some bumps in the road for everybody. And the other thing is this applies not only to borough council, but all your borough boards and commissions. So it applies to planning and zoning and everything like that. So that's usually where I've seen most of the changes, where folks maybe haven't been as diligent about agendas and posting for those entities.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I forgot to ask you about those. So all 6 appointed boards have to go through that. That includes tree and shrub.
That's correct.
A rec board. Okay.
Yep. So for any of their meetings, I think it goes into effect August 29th, which is a Friday. So it's really effective for all meetings in September. Not many folks meet on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from a municipal perspective. So all boards and commissions, as well as borough council, will need to follow this in September. But I'm ready to work with Steve on it. Things come up at the meeting, I'll be able to advise. I think those will be the biggest things. Will be meeting issues, things that pop up at the meetings, as well as helping the other boards and commissions sort of come up to speed on this. So Steve, I do have a memo that a couple of my other clients have asked me to prepare, and if you all would like me to get you a copy, I can do that as well.
Sure. Yes.
Yep. I will do that. That's the end of my report.
Okay, and then the last item we have up here is the memorial bench issue. Mr. Thielacker suggested that maybe we try to move on at least one of those requests. I would agree with that, and I would like that to come out of ops and policy. So, Mr. Lawrence, I would ask that you start putting together some type of policy for coming out of your committee for the benches that are requested. This is such a wide area in terms, you can buy these benches for a couple of $100 or a couple of thousand. And this is going to be directly tied into the donations, if I remember correctly, from the last meeting. So it won't be the borough funds that will be, we will just assist in terms of the location and placement. But I just saw today down on the Ardmore, there was across from right next to Bevington, or actually on Bevington, I guess, in Ardmore. So there was a bench there that is like polystyrene, and I guess it's put together. It's a two-man bench. So you can get off, and it looks like it doesn't require any maintenance, which is one of the things we want to make sure we avoid. So you can go from two-person benches, to three. We probably want to stay in that area. And again, the no maintenance thing is a big deal, because we don't want to have to go out, and even if we have 5 or 6 of those benches, to have to do repairs or maintenance on them. So that would be my only suggestion. And I would ask if anybody has any questions or concerns, please work with Jack and his committee to put something together. Okay?
Yep.
Questions?
If anybody has any ideas, like Mr. President said, just give me a call, and because I only have some thoughts about what we might do to make this an easier process
Okay.
for everybody.
All right. Thank you. That concludes the meeting. We are done, Mr. Morris. You can